Yes. Okay, done. Sorry about that. Looked at leg mods. That is the next step here. Let's see, where are we? Unique upgrades. Please note that all the information in the development blog is preliminary and subject to change during testing. Showcase features, blah blah blah. In version 9.5, we're beginning to update unique upgrades in our game. The concept of unique upgrades provide an optional opportunity to mount special but balanced bonuses compared to standard upgrades. Balanced. Okay. Changes to unique upgrades are designed to balance their efficiency but at the same time maintain a unique style for each ship. I mean, like the way you kill the unique style of the Henry by fucking her the acceleration. Okay. Enhanced armaments. Yu Yang. Bonus which reduces main battery reload was increased from 10 to 15%. Penalty to the action time of consumables was removed. Oh. Bonus which increases the action time of the surveillance radar consumable by 20% was added. Bonus which increases the smoke screen dispersion time by 20% was added. Bonus which reduced torpedo tubes reload time was removed. So this is what this ends up costing then is concealment. That's the only thing, because it goes in slot 5, which is the concealment slot. So you're trading concealment for 15% DPM, 20% radar. With the other radar mod, you can probably push your radar to like 30 seconds, more than 30. You can push it past 30 seconds of radar. This is interesting because Wargaming originally said that one of the issues with the Yu Yang was the radar. And in order to nerf the Yu Yang's effectiveness, everyone was using it with radar, they nerfed the guns and the torps. And now they're changing the legendary mode so that it buffs the radar and the guns. What? Okay. The older version of this upgrade was unpopular because of low competitiveness with other upgrades in the slot, like concealment. The new variant of the upgrade offers more aggressive gameplay with an accent on consumables and main battery instead of the concealment upgrade, which involves a safe playstyle. Okay. But like, do they remember that they nerfed it because it was too effective with radar? And now they're buffing the radar significantly? Leg mod isn't the problem with the Yu Yang, exactly. And now that Smallland exists, why would anyone, if you want a radar DD, why would you bring the Yu Yang? Questionable. Heavyweight artillery. Kababah. The penalty which reduced main battery turret traverse speed was removed. Thank you. Bonus to the main battery firing range was increased from 8 to 10%. Ooh. 20% penalty to the action time of consumables. Wait, the 20% penalty to the action time of consumables. Now the upgrade emphasizes even more aggressive main battery playstyle, but in return it decreases the efficiency of consumables. How can you have a more aggressive main battery playstyle if you're nerfing the speed boost by 20%? You're nerfing the heal by 20%. How is that a more aggressive playstyle? If I'm slower and I heal less, but I have more range, how does that in Wargaming's mind equate to more aggression? What? Slower, less healing, more range, more aggression? What? I don't understand. And more aggressive playstyle. What do you mean more aggressive? It goes in slot. Like, one of the reasons why this is one of the most passive legendary modules in the game is because they nerfed the rudder shift on the Kababah. They nerfed the rudder shift to the extent that the Kababah handles like a fucking heavy cruiser. And the only way to get around this bullshit is to slot the rudder shift module. Otherwise you handle like a fucking brick. So you basically have to slot the rudder shift module in the 5th slot. And that's the only way you can play aggressive in the Kababah. If you try to slot this thing and not the rudder shift, well, Look, I can like look at this. Like, just like fucking look at this. Okay. Okay, this is what happens if you slot the legendary upgrade here. This is even with running a rudder shift here. 8.9. Okay, 8.9. Like, to put that in perspective, Des Moines 6.9. Like, okay, Des Moines is a pretty agile one. Fuck, what is Moskva's? 8.7. Moskva's rudder shift is 8.7. So, if you want to slot the legendary module on the Kababah, you have less rudder shift than a fucking Moskva. And this is why this is never an aggressive upgrade. When you slot this upgrade, what you're basically saying is that I'm gonna handle like a fucking brick, and because I'm a DD that eats full AP penetrations, I'm gonna sit at range and I'm gonna play safe. And now they're changing it so that it no longer, it gives a bit more range, but it also fucks with the duration of my speed and smoke or heal. So now I'm gonna be playing even safer. Like, this literally makes absolutely no fucking sense. The only way they could have salvaged this to make it a more aggressive upgrade was moving it to the 6th slot. So, because you need to slot this. If you want to play aggressive Kababah, you need this module. That's the only way you can play aggressive Kababah, because otherwise you're just too easy to fucking blap. But the thing is, no one fucking plays Kababah because of all these issues. They nerfed it too hard. And then they thought that this ship also needed 6 km torpedoes for some reason. God knows why. And then they introduced the Kababah with 8 km torps. Like, there's a lot of questionable shit going on here. Like, overall, this change will in no way make this more viable, and it will certainly not make this a more aggressive option. It will make it an even more passive option. That's the only change that's gonna happen. I don't understand how they're thinking with this, but this is fucking this is just nonsense. This is complete nonsense. Just complete pointless. Enhanced countermeasures. Oh shit, sorry about that. Oh. Oh. Oh shit, I need to 1 second. We're going to check out that apartment tomorrow. Right. Where were we? I just got the notification of an apartment that I'm gonna go look at. Right. Enhanced countermeasures. Wooster. Slot 6. The upgrade was moved from slot 5 to slot 6, so no longer takes up the concealment slot. All bonuses to consumable action time were removed. Okay. Bonus which reduces the AA priority sector reload by 20% was added. Okay, this is shit. This is completely pointless. It doesn't do anything. Bonus which reduces the reload time of ship's consumables by 20% was added. Bonus which increases number of all consumables by 1 was added. The upgrade was moved from slot 5 to 6, thus avoiding competition with upgrades which grant bonuses to maneuverability and concealment. Who builds Wooster? I guess you could build acceleration, but... The new parameters of the upgrade will emphasize the ship's role as a universal cruiser capable of completing various tasks. Let me translate. The new parameters of the upgrade will emphasize the ship's role as a radar bot. That's what's going to happen. Okay, we're talking radar bot here. Nothing as fancy as that. Let's see. So, if we build this thing, the thing is, right now you can get the cooldown down to 108. Is this with Jack? Yeah, this is with not improved Jack. You can absolutely build it with improved Jack and with the flag. You can get it to what, 108? Now the thing is, you got to remember they recently added this action time. So I'm wondering if you could do this and then add the minus 20% cooldown. So then you would end up with a radar that lasts 53 seconds with a cooldown of about what, 90? Cooldown of about 90 seconds. if you use this one. You could get a cooldown of about 90 seconds on an almost 1 minute long radar. Wait, did it also say, it said it's only the radar that gets the boost. No, it's which reduces real time of ship consumables. That means also the heal, and it gives you an additional heal as well, and an additional radar. Provided you can avoid being blapped to shit. It's gonna become such a fucking frustrating radar bot. It's gonna become such a radar bot, but how is that still possibly worth it? The problem is, Wooster's main issue, even if you make it a complete radar bot, is the fact that after the normalization, the radar range is 9. When you got Soviet radars that gain a third of extra range, basically for free, it's... I still don't think that's gonna... I still don't think that's gonna be enough to salvage the Wooster or make this legendary mod in any way worth it. Because right now you're trading off... In randoms, you're trading off DPM. In any sort of comp, you're probably trading off range. And then you're stuck with 15.8 km range and 9 km radar. You're very effective at short ranges, but that's pretty much it. And the thing is, building concealment is also going to drop in value once the Soviet ships come out. That's probably something people haven't really highlighted, but having a concealment advantage will become less valuable once the Soviet ships come out, because basically all of them are
obviously the environment down here is all
radar,
salt. The ceiling's salt, the floor's salt, the walls are salt, and to an extent the air is salt.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't see this thing becoming viable. I still don't see this thing becoming viable.
I'm very consistent.
Even, it's still maybe a meme build, genius. But effective one? No. Honestly, no, not really. Okay. Enhanced propulsion. Des Moines. The upgrade was moved from slot 6 to slot 5. So if you want your acceleration memes, well, the legendary mod is very strong. If you want those memes, you have to give up concealment now. Penalty to the action time of surveillance radar consumable was removed. The upgrade was too effective. In order to not deprive the upgrade of its unique features, we moved it to slot 5, thus putting a choice between maneuverability and concealment of the cruiser. This is not necessarily a nerf. This depends on the playstyle. You can't run... Moving it from slot 6 to slot 5 means that the open water Des Moines, basically you could kind of build, oh sorry, let's go like this. You could kind of build the Des Moines, like you could do memes like this, where you go legendary and then you go steering gears, basically the full maneuverability Des Moines, and then you had these complete fucking memes, which was completely ridiculous. So this build is gonna die. This is no longer possible. But on the other hand, it means that if you can slot this thing here, the open water gunboat Des Moines, probably people are going to build at range in this case, the open water gunboat Des Moines is kind of going to be the new Henry, potentially. Because if you have the double acceleration plus good range, you're going to be a fucking pain to hit. You're going to be such a fucking pain to hit. And basically all that shit that they just nerfed on the Henry, Des Moines does it even better. Henry juking with acceleration was the most annoying shit ever, but the legendary Des Moines does it even better. And now it has the option to do it from significant range. So the issue is, of course, the shell speed is fucking slow. But if we're talking farming nose-in ships, we're talking just battle cruisers or Moskva, Stalingrad's battleships, whatever, it's going to be really fucking frustrating to deal with. So it doesn't have the black hole armor, no, but on the other hand, it will still retain pretty decent concealment and of course radar utility, which Henry does not provide. So I don't know. It remains to be seen. It remains to be seen how well can the players wield it. But it does open up the option of that build. It heavily depends on the playstyle. For open water Des Moines though, I would say this is even a buff. This change is even a buff for open water Des Moines. But for close range, people are like hopping behind the islands and ambushing using the legendary acceleration and shit. Well, for them, it's obviously going to be a nerf. Just straight up nerf. But we'll see. It remains to be seen. On the other hand, if you're willing to play without concealment, you can still go enhanced acceleration, legendary, and reload mod. Really fucking nasty short range Des Moines. That option also exists. It's even more of a side grade now. The problem with legendary with Des Moines, from Wargaming's perspective, was probably that people were running it so much. It was becoming the must-have, not the side grade that they want legendary to be, but just the absolute what people ran. But if it ends up being carrier meta, as someone mentioned in chat, then concealment is fucking useless anyway. Who's gonna run concealment if there's carriers? It doesn't do shit. So we'll see. We shall see. That was Des Moines then. Well, this is just pissing on the grave of a ship that's basically been killed off. Slot 5. Bonus to the main battery reload time was reduced from 12 to 10. Bonus to the firing range reduced from 8 to 5. But they make no mention of fucking over. They make absolutely no mention of the fact that they're not removing the concealment debuff. One of the things with the Henry Legendary is something that gotta be reminded is people think that when you switch from this one to the Legendary, that you're only losing 10% concealment. But that's not the way it works. You lose the 10% you gain from the buff, but you also get the debuff of plus 10% detectability. So what happens is if you switch to the legendary, you go from 13 km and 6.7 to 15.9 and 8.2. So you give up 3 kilometers of surface detection, which is a fucking huge sacrifice. It's a fucking huge sacrifice. You also lose the dispersion debuff, of course. That is worth mentioning as well. You lose the surface debuff, or the dispersion debuff that you get, but 5%. Still, it does matter. But the bigger deal is that you're giving up 2.9 kilometers of surface, and you're giving up 1.5 of plane. Legendary Henry was already because of this. Running Legendary Henry means that you're going to be spotted the entire game, and all people are always going to take pot shots when there's no one else better to shoot at. Now it's even less of a good trade because instead of 8 we're gonna have 5, and instead of 12 we're gonna have 10. Henry is already kind of fucked. I mean, the only way you could get away with running this thing was of course acceleration jukes or playing at very long range. They fucked the acceleration, so now you're gonna be even more constrained to playing at the very fucking edge of the map. No one even plays Henry anymore. The nerf kind of killed Henry off the meta, and I don't see. I mean, fucking the legendary is just gonna make it even less desirable. So forced into conceal or rudder, yes. All right. Enhanced main armaments. Cordova, slot 6. Bonus to main battery reload time was reduced from 15 to 10%. Penalty to main battery troops removed. This is so fucking questionable. This is so fucking questionable. Because do you know what this means when they change main armaments from 15 to 10%? This means that this actually gives you less main battery firepower than the default 3 million upgrade. It is extremely fucking, like, honestly, just shit. I already don't like it because one of Cordova's greatest downsides, when you run the legendary mod, is that your main gun range is fucking trash. You become a 19 km range battleship, which at tier 10 is a goddamn fucking meme. It's so bad. Now I'm running full secondary meme build, but the problem is, of course, German ships used to be the secondary ships. But then they introduced the American battleships with secondaries, and for some reason the American battleship secondaries have really fucking good accuracy, whereas German secondaries have complete trash accuracy. In fact, you can play Ohio and Georgia without manual secondaries, and you will have better accuracy on your secondaries than on a German battleship running manual secondaries. So, secondary build to begin with on a Grosse Kurfürst is very much meme worthy. The thing of this was, of course, it gave you 15% main battery reload and 15% secondary at the cost of 8 range and 7 traverse speed. So their goal is now that they remove the traverse speed. Okay, that really doesn't change too much. They removed the 7% traverse speed nerf, but it comes at the cost of 15% reload. So what this means that if you slot this upgrade is that you are not just giving up main battery range, you're also giving up 2% reload. For suppose, and I mean you get the 15% secondaries, but we have already established that fucking German secondaries are trash. They're just straight up trash. They are so very debatable. The accuracy is too poor on them. And Kurfürst as a brawler has always had the issues with the firing angles, but ultimately this one is already very debatable. Because giving up the thing is, range is a lifeline for the Kurfürst. 19k in battleship range, like this is tier 8 battleship range. In fact, most tier 8s have better range. And you don't have really the concealment to sneak up on ships either. So you kind of need the range to be effective, just like any other battleship. Really? They're nerfing this thing? I don't even get the idea why they feel like that thing should be nerfed. Have German battleships at any point actually overperformed? Let's like, how are battleships doing? Let's see. Win rate: Bourgogne, Ohio, Kremlin, Thunder, Conquer, Kurfürst. Okay, top 50. With top 50 it drops. I was about to say it climbs, but no, it stays down here. Top 25. Top 10. Oh, Montana overtakes it. When there's more skill involved, then Montana overtakes it. And in top 5%, it barely beats the Yamato, and that's probably because there's so many people playing the Yamato. I don't really know how you can look at the ship like this that has the skill ceiling that the Kurfürst has and go, damn, this fucking thing really is overperforming. I do not understand. I do not understand. Regardless, I already thought the legendary was trash because it gave up range, but for full secondary build memes, it could be okayish. Now it's even worse. For any sort of serious Kurfürst build, I could never see myself using it. Just. After recent buffs and IFHE changes, Grosse Kurfürst is starting being better. Yeah, but Grosse Kurfürst ultimately is such a fucking easy ship to play around. That's really the fundamental issue. Having to give full broadside to use it. Okay, let's check out Montana. Enhanced damage control systems. A legendary upgrade that was already very questionable. Bonus which reduced fire extinguishing time was reduced from 15 to 10%. Bonus which reduced flooding recovery time was reduced from 30 to 10%. Wargaming are aware that this thing already wasn't very good. Right? Like, okay, let's take a look at this one. Montana. Now, I like Concealment Expert Montana more, because the things that kill you when you're playing a Montana, especially if you're building fire prevention, like any fucking sane battleship captain would do, if you're building fire prevention, fires are likely not going to be that big of a deal for you. So because most of the time you're going to have that one fire. So trading off, what's going to kill you is the direct HE splash damage. HE hits AP pens, carriers, whatever. All this stuff is going to kill you. Unlikely to be that one fire ticking on top of you. For that reason, I always preferred concealment. But let's look at the legendary upgrade. So what exactly was special about the legendary upgrade? Well, fire extinguishing time reduced by 15%. This was basically the same. You get one extra of these. Remember, of course, that when you stack reductions in fire, you get less benefit, like it's diminishing returns the more you stack of them. So if you already built for fire prevention, legendary lost a lot of value. But it did allow you to get away with maybe building more steering gears and so forth. Flooding recovery, minus 30%. Floods don't really do that much damage already, and most of the time flooding involved being eating torpedoes. I mean, okay-ish. No, not that. It's not additive but multiplicative. Yeah. Rudder shift time, minus 30%. Yeah, this is really the best thing. You could build this, and you could get your rudder shift down to a decent. For those that aren't aware, Montana has the worst rudder shift of all tier 10 battleships. The Montana rudder shift is 22.2 seconds, which is horrendous trash. Back in the day when flooding lasted really long, this was of course much better. But
wow, time flies.
This allows you to almost cut your rudder shift in half, from 22.2 to 12.4. This was probably the best benefit of this thing. It gave you maneuverability. Steering gears repair time is basically useless. The only time you lose your steering gears in a battleship is torpedo to the booty. Other than that, very unlikely to lose it, especially on a Montana. So, but of course, running this also meant the concealment went out the window. So yes, you were more agile, but you were agile to a certain extent. You still only had 12.4 km concealment. You still had a terrible goddamn turning circle, and you were spotted from the moon. So what usually running this meant was you were agile, but you were still eating probably more damage because of how much you were being detected. At most times, this was most useful when you finally got to push in and brawl, then you got the most value out of this. But the rest of the time, you ended up eating more damage, not less, because of the enhanced damage control. So Wargaming's choices, their decision is to nerf this thing. And they are reducing fire extinguishing to 10 and flooding to 10. So that means the only real world benefit that we can talk about here is going to be the rudder shift. And I have such a hard time justifying giving up that 10% concealment for that 30% rudder shift. Because this is not a cruiser. You can sit nose in and tank for a while in a battleship and just reverse. You can disengage in different ways than a cruiser can. It's not nearly as valuable on a BB it's not nearly as valuable on a BB as a cruiser. So honestly, I think they're just killing it off.
Take my prime sub, you glorious leader of potatoes.
Peppersnare, thank you for the 2. Delete Campers, thank you for that. Like, this thing had some value in certain builds, and especially I could see some sort of push comp with this thing working, because it gave you extra tankiness if you didn't care about concealment. But once they've nerfed it, I have such a hard time justifying it. I really have such a hard time justifying it. And no, I don't understand why they're nerfing it. Never at any point have I ever heard anyone go, wow, Montana's legendary shore is overpowered. I've never heard anyone say that. Like, I've never heard anyone utter anything similar. Like, people go, oh crap, it's legendary Moskva. Oh crap, it's legendary Yamato. Like, these are things that you go, whoa, okay, he's got scary guns, or he's got something, but oh crap, my fires burn 15% shorter on that Montana. But luckily he's spotted, so I can just keep spamming him for longer. Like, never really been exactly the threat.
It's interesting how the Moskva Yamato legendary mods haven't been touched despite being straight upgrades. Pepe laugh.
Yeah, that's also confusing to me. So I don't really understand this at all. I mean, it's interesting that they touched the Des Moines upgrade, which has been considered a bit, like, people have considered a bit of an upgrade, especially for comp.
That poor Asian CC who loves Monty is going to be so sad.
Oh yeah. what is it called? Shit, what is it called? I know who you mean. Montana guy. Oh, he's gonna be so sad. Right, let's go back. So this is another nerf, just like the Cold Force nerf. This is another nerf. The thing is that they're nerfing this thing and this thing, but they are not touching the Yamato upgrade. That is the most confusing aspect to me. That is really the most confusing aspect. Actually, they're touching Republic as well.
WG hated on Omri being hard to hit at range. Now image range mod spot a leg DM at range.
Yeah, on the bright side, that he can't hit shit with that. Okay. Additional main battery loader, Republic. Penalty to main battery turret's traverse speed was removed. If I remember correctly, I did not like Republic Legendary because you gave up far too much range on an already squishy battleship. Let's see. Republic. What is the legendary? Okay, so you lose the traverse speed isn't there anymore. Is traverse speed an issue on the ship? Not really. With expert marksman, not really. I mean, this is 13. It was already the same 13. So not really that big of a benefit. So what was the issue with the legendary mod? Well, the issue with the legendary mod was you're trading off 24% range. And you got to remember, Republic, its gimmick is it doesn't have a lot of guns, but it can shoot very quickly, and it's somewhat accurate. So the gimmick was always that you can zip around and you can kind of be effective all over the map. You can shoot and shoot and shoot. When you slot the legendary upgrade, well, at this range goes from 26 to 19.8. And of course, you got to remember that Republic does not get spot replay, so you have no way of extending this range. So you're stuck with 19.8 km guns, and what do you gain in return? Well, it says 18% reload, which might make you think, wow, that's a big boost. But it actually isn't. 19.7, you got to remember that this thing actually also gives you 12%. So what you're actually gaining is 1.4 seconds of reload. Yeah. You're gaining 1.4 seconds, aka the 6%. You're gaining 1.4 seconds of reload in exchange for losing one of the main strengths of the Republic, which is the ability to blap ships all over the map. Republic's guns have great penetration. It's Yamato level of pen, and you can overmatch cruisers, so it's always been that threat, like you can shoot anyone across the map. That's been its gimmick. And slotting the legendary butchers the gimmick in return for 1.4 seconds of reload. So obviously not really worth running, and people rarely run the Republic legendary for this reason. So the only buff they did was remove the penalty to the main turret's traverse speed. I mean, that was never the issue. The traverse speed was not even a factor. I guess they're trying to encourage some sort of more aggressive playstyle, but you can still play a Republic the same way as you could a legendary Republic. The only difference is the normal Republic is also useful in other situations. 1.4 second reload is nowhere near enough value to justify giving up all that range. And being aggro in a BB right now is death. There's also that. The current meta, like, where exactly can you be aggro? If there's a carrier, well, you sure as hell can't be aggro. They have a Smolensk, well, you can't be aggro. Especially now this new DD is Holland. Like, if there was some other DD on the flank, you can maybe play around the torpedoes, like a Shima. You dodge the torpedoes, you got maybe almost 2 minutes. Like, if you know where he's torping from, you can probably angle against them. Then you got about 1.5-2 minutes of time before the next volley is coming. You can kind of play around and maybe push into a Shima, but it's sketchy. But Holland launches those Sidewinder missile torpedoes every 1 minute. You can't push into that. You always end up eating a couple, then you're forced to damage con, then you're on fire, then the second set comes and so forth. There's so much anti-pushing mechanics in the game right now, so the whole concept of an aggressive BB, unless you have absolutely ridiculous amounts of armor, like a Kremlin, is completely out the window. And Republic never had the armor really to push. Republic was probably one of the shittiest pushing BBs in the game, simply because HE spam melts it. Like, you just vanish. It does have that trolley armor, spaced armor, but it's not enough. So there's really no justification to run the legendary mod, and these changes won't change it at all. It is very curious to me, though, to see that they are changing the Grosse Kurfürst. They're nerfing the Grosse Kurfürst upgrade. They're nerfing the Montana upgrade. And they're kind of trying to buff the Republic upgrade without really buffing it. But these are not upgrades that anyone was really using. Montana, like some of them might have had some use, like Kurfürst, meme build, Montana, some sort of pushing comp setup. But on the other hand, there is one upgrade that everyone uses, and as soon as people can get it, like this is something people grind for. This is an upgrade people want to get. People put effort into getting. This is one of the best upgrades in the game, and this one is untouched. But the ones that people don't give a shit about, they are being touched. It's very like the whole logic behind it is very confusing, because this thing is fucking amazing. This thing is one of the best upgrades. This combined with this gives you that amazing Yamato dispersion, which is actually fun to play and makes it very effective and scary. Then there's the Moskva upgrade and also kind of the Zao upgrade. These are all, well, they all have one thing in common: they make your guns more accurate. So obviously they are very popular. But these are unchanged, but these kind of upgrades no one really cares about. They are being fiddled with. I can read the last statement. Okay, let's go down. Accelerated torpedo tube reload. Shimakaze slot 6. The penalty which reduced torpedo tube's turret traverse was reduced from 80% to 70%. This doesn't sound like much, but I'm pretty sure this is a significant amount, because 80 was so goddamn much. I think this actually can be a significant amount. It goes from 36 seconds to 24. Yeah, that's what I thought. It goes from 36 to 24. It doesn't sound like much, but that's actually a significant amount.
I think I'm much more humble than you would understand.
Kremlin, Smolensk and a CV walk into a bar. They drink water only, yet come out stumbling anyway. Why? Because they are already imbalanced.
Yeah, will that be enough to justify it? One of the issues why Shimakaze Legendary mod was trash was the fundamental issue is that you traded far too much. Basically, what you gain is 10% faster reload, which means your torpedo reload goes from 117 with the full build to, is it 103. Now this sounds like a really good deal. Like, wow, Flamu, you gained like what, 14 seconds? 14 seconds? That's crazy good. But the problem is the turret traverse is 30 seconds. What this means is that basically your torpedoes are completely irrelevant in any sort of brawling situation, because you can't keep up with enemy ships at all. Like they turn slower than your guns, and Shima guns are already infamous for being very, very slow. And the other aspect is, so oftentimes if you wanted, let's say they were pointed this way and you wanted to torp someone over here, it took you so long to actually turn the torpedoes into the right angle, and you couldn't maneuver your ship at all, because if you change your ship angle at all, once again the torpedo traverse was slower than your ship, so they couldn't keep up, so it took you even longer. And if there was any ever situation that basically your torpedoes were pointed this way and you wanted to turn your ship around and torp this way, well, then you had to wait that full 30 seconds for them to turn around. So in actuality, this thing ended up lowering your torpedo output instead of increasing it, because it was so punishing. However, now with the changes from 80% debuff to 70, that is pretty interesting, especially because this thing has been added. This thing used to be like, this upgrade used to slot like the flak clouds. But what people don't often think about this torpedo tubes mod is that it gives you 20% tube traverse speed, which makes it exceptionally good for the Shima. So this thing already kind of gave you a bump to the Shima Legendary. And now that they're actually reducing it from 80 to 70, well, I think you're going to end up at something... What are you going to end up? 20 seconds maybe? What is the aiming system gives you... No, it's the same. It's 20% same traverse. So it gives you the same, so there's no reason not to use this one. This one is better because of the reduction in torpedo tube damage. So you're gonna end up at what, 20 something? 20 something traverse, which might make it usable, because then they're gonna keep up with your guns, and that makes it fairly easy. Where your guns are pointed, your torpedo tubes will also be pointed, instead of them always lagging so far behind your gun traverse. It's gonna be 20 seconds exactly, someone said in chat. 20 seconds exactly. That might be usable. That might be usable. It will involve change in playstyle, but at that point, the benefit of 14 seconds faster torpedo reload might be worth using. We'll see. It's gonna be borderline. It's gonna be shit in any brawling situations or YOLOs and so forth, but the damage output might justify it. The damage output might justify. Will need to be tested. Concerning Henry IV, Grossokorf's Montana Republican Shimkan's balance change is designed to compensate for the excessive or insufficient effectiveness of the unique upgrades were made. Excessive? How are these excessive? In the following updates, we'll continue working on unique upgrades for other ships. I guess that means I would expect Yamato Moskva to be on the chopping block. It's not our excessive effectiveness, though. Questionable to say the least, boys. Questionable to say the least. Is media donors on? Yes, media donors have been turned on. Right, that was our look at the upcoming Testorino things. But yeah, the current legendary
Humble man.
would not recommend.
I think I am actually humble. I think I'm
Legendary Shima. Jar of Glue, thank you for the 10. But the upcoming one, potential.